knowing when to start the highlight. So three, two, one. Hello there, everyone. This is one half of your Big O recap team here. I'm of course Tommo, and I'm being joined by Liam once again. How are you doing today?
Doing good, thanks, Tomo.
Awesome. And of course today, guys, we're going to be looking at all the Division 3s in the Big O. If you're in Division 1 and Division 2 and you missed kind of like the recap for that, you can find it over on Crusader's channel. I'm not sure if he's uploading it to a YouTube channel or anything, but because he's a Twitch affiliate, he does have to wait 24 hours before he can do anything like that. So it might be worth asking him if you want to watch it again, on YouTube as opposed to Twitch. But anyhow, guys, we're going to start with Division 3A. We're only talking about Week 1 this week, so at times you might see some of the results from Week 2. Of course, we're going to talk about Week 2 next weekend when all the games are finished. So for now, the results of Week 1 in Division 3A are the Shadows obviously got their bye week, which is only a 1-0 win, actually. Have they changed the rules with that or something? Or was that not a bye
They
week?
must have. I thought I remember reading in the rules that it gave. Yes, I actually read the rules. That it gave 2 touchdowns, but they must have. That must be wrong. They must only give you one. So there you go.
Reese commenting, you do, you get 2 MVPs and 1 touchdown. Wow, okay. So that's a wee bit different from last time. My team, the Arcana, were up against SLP2 Scrub Harder, and we lost 1-0. Teenage Mutant Ninja Goblins took a 3-0 win over Faces of 4chan. The Rivendell Jets went down 2-0 to Safe Moves First. TBD lost 3-0 to the Doomed Witches, and Celebrity Veg beat Gluten Free 1-0. I'll show a quick look at the leaderboard just before we start. We can look at it at the end there. Remember, guys, this is counting some of the results from Week 2 too. We didn't take screenshots or anything when Week 1 ended, so that's roughly how the division is kind of shaping up at the minute. So, on to talking about the teams. Liam, do you want to go first? Whichever team that you picked. It was.
Yeah, I'll go first because I picked two. So I'm gonna look at Teenage Mutant Ninja Goblins first. They got up 3-0 first week, so they had a good win. And the reason I mainly picked this team, 2 reasons. They have some pretty good development, especially for an early Underworld team. And also, I do like the Underworld teams a lot to watch and to play myself. Just looking at the team, you've got the Warpstone Troll, pretty standard on an Underworld team. You've already got a Claw Mighty Blow Blitzer, and he's not even too far away from tackle or piling on, so he's looking pretty nasty. You've got Tackle Blitzer, who 3 SPP away, so only a touchdown away from probably Mighty Blow, I'd imagine, on him. Got your 2 throwers, one with Blodge, which is pretty cool. An early double on them is pretty handy. And then you've got a Skaven lineman with just Wrestle, and there's a Horns Underworld Goblin. And they also have 13 players, which is pretty important for a basically all AV7 team. So yeah, this team had a pretty good start to the season. I'm not sure if Tomo has any more comments on it and how it's developed.
Yeah, it's a lot of skills and a lot of SPP at the start of the season. I think that Horns in particular is an interesting pick. It's one I'm not sure a lot of coaches would have necessarily gone with.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I do love 2+ dodges everywhere, which would mean you'd choose 2 heads. But Horns is very good once it's handy if you can make the 3+ dodges on the cage dive, and it's a nice threat to have. But whether you pick it first, I don't know. But it is good fun.
Yeah, it's a skill I am quite a big fan of. Normally, I use it in positions with like gutter runners on Skaven, where a lot of people I think prefer having like Dauntless or something instead. Whereas I really quite enjoy having the horns. But so to see it on like an Underworld Goblin, Yeah, I like it quite a bit. It's going to give him like a little bit more hitting power in places. Like, he's not going to be wanting to blitz with this piece, a great deal when he has, the two Skaven blitzes, one for hunting down, stunties with tackle and the other one for, clawing through people. But at the same time, if those guys are tied up, he's going to be able to do some work in with this Goblin too, which I think is pretty cool. And for Yale, as you mentioned, diving into cages and getting hits on ball carriers. That's really cool.
Yeah, I think they've also obviously Godet Nick's a pretty decent coach, level 20, so he's played his Blood Bowl around in Blood Bowl 2, and he's got 4 wins, 1 draw, 1 loss. His loss was the last match he played, I believe, which is actually against one of the other really good teams in the division. So that record's certainly very good for an Underworld team. An early Underworld, I'd say they're reasonably tricky. They probably get easier once you get more crazy underworld goblins to do crazy stuff with. So hopefully you can get some crazy underworld goblins because they're cool to watch.
Yeah, awesome. Apparently, according to Bush, he was top ranked Nurgle in the Champs ladder not too long ago. So yeah, this is obviously a coach who knows what he's talking about. But anyway, let's go on to the next team, which was my pick. And I'm going to talk about the Doomed Witches, who are currently, obviously, took like a 3-0 win in their first game against TBD. They're currently sitting top of the table. And this is a team that already looks very, very strong. He's got the two Witch Elves, both have Blood Step. Is a blitzer with dodge mighty blow, another one with dodge tackle, a normal bludge blitzer, and a lineman that has both block and guard already. Yeah, this is a really, really good team. He only has two rerolls at the minute, but he does have the one cheerleader and the one coach assistant, which is something I've noticed quite a lot of teams in Division 3 are kind of looking at the cheerleaders and coach assistants and, picking up one or two to try and get the advantage on these kickoff events, which has been quite interesting. Um, he has lost, a couple of linemen along the way, but, I think those elf coaches this season are used to losing linemen and stuff. It's always a rare occurrence for me to load up onto the pitch and actually see elf teams with full rosters on the pitch. So that's nothing to worry about there. But yeah, it's been an incredibly strong start for this coach and this team.
Well, yeah, and like you can't help but look at the 5-0-0 for the record, and currently he's actually averaging 3 touchdowns a game, which is pretty impressive for any team, and especially impressive for a team with a max movement of 7. So obviously he's doing well. You can say 2 of these were against ogres, but there have been some good opponents that they have played. So yeah, really really good start for this team.
Awesome. Okay. We'll just keep moving then. I'm sorry guys to anyone that watched Neo Crusaders, one of Div 1 and Div 2. I don't know how or why they ended up talking about every single league, every single team in the league, but we don't really have time to do that. Maybe halfway up towards the end we'll do like a special or something like that. But we are going to be cutting it a little bit shorter. Why have I loaded into Div 1? 3A. So
We don't have all the time that Crusader has.
So the last team we were going to talk about in 3A was...
Wasn't it Celebrity Veg?
Yes, it was.
I think it
That's the
was.
team we both picked, yeah.
Yeah. Because they are pretty... Well, I think me and Tommy were saying they've gambled a bit on their starting roster. Starting with 4 catches, or maybe not 4, but definitely at least 3. And now they've got a very nice roster. Of course, that AG5 blitzer is a great start for the team. Having a blodge sidestep AG5 player early on is very cool, and 7MA means he's going to dive the gaps. Then you've got the other blitzers just blodge sidestep. when I say just blodge sidestep, that's really good early on. Catches are probably the most worrying thing here because they have absolutely no defensive skills. And, of course, the skills on catches, Nerves of Steel and Guard, both require you to be in tackle zones to use. So, yeah, that's a little worrying for him. So I'm sure he'd love to dodge or block them up. And then I think the most interesting thing is Fend on the elf lineman. What do you think about that, Tomo?
Um, yeah, I guess if you're making like an elf screen or something, you're hiding behind these guys. It makes it a lot more difficult for an opponent to push through it. Um, my problem with this team is just the amount of linemen, though. Like, Fen doesn't keep them alive. If they had took like block or dodge, that's less times they're going to be falling on the ground, and it's less times, that they're obviously you're making armor rolls. I mean, this team's it's stacked with positionals that he's going to want to try to protect. But with only 4 linemen on the pitch, over the course of a game, these guys are going to get removed, and then you're kind of relying on luck to actually try and protect the remainder of your catches. Your blitzes are fairly safe, I think, with blodge step at this point. But, all 4 catches in the throw are definitely vulnerable, and there's going to be times in the game where you just literally don't have enough guys on the pitch to protect them. So I think they're going to be a little bit vulnerable. Having said that, if we come back to this team in like 3 or 4 games time, and all of these catches have survived, this team's going to be pretty beastly.
Yeah, exactly. They've got a lot of potential. It's just they've got 11 players currently, which is pretty terrifying, really, for elves, who are all AV7 basically. And their 2 best players are also their most durable, which is a bit scary because you don't really want to be manning up your best player all the time. So, yeah, that's a bit worrying. But if we look at who they're playing next week, week 2 they played Doomed Witches. They actually we won't talk about that, but so Doomed Witches, that's the Dark Elf team we just looked at. They then play
TBD.
I've already forgotten the team name. TVD, so Ogres. So that's a good chance to get a couple touchdowns at the least and hopefully kill some Snotlings. And then they've got who's next? Teenage Mutant Ninja Goblins. So they've got 2 teams coming up that are pretty low on armor, Ogres and Underworld, so they can hopefully get some injuries, but those Underworld look a bit scary, so do Ogres. So I think that the most important 2 weeks for the season for this team might be their next 2.
Yep, I think that's fair to say. So,
shall we?
Yeah, first I'm just going to have a look at the schedule for next week. So week 2 of Division 3A, we've got, my team, the Arcana, I've got the bye week this week, or in week 2. The Shadows are playing Teenage Mutant Ninja Goblins. SLP2 Scrub Hut are playing the Rivendell Jets. Faces of 4chan are playing against TBD. Safe Moves First have got Gluten Free, and the Doomed Witches have got Celebrity Veg. Of course, once again, guys, if we can see a few of these games have been played, but again, we're going to talk about these games and those results next week.
Yes, and also Faces of 4chan versus TBD is actually happening currently. So after you watch the stream, if you're watching it live, go check that out on Crusader's channel because that'll still be going after we finish this.
Yep. And a quick look at the leaderboard. Again, does anything jump out to you there, Liam, or is it still just too early to be looking at any trends or anything?
Yeah, it's probably a bit early. I mean, Doomed Witches have, of course, had a really good start, but other than that, there's no real big things jumping out to me.
Okay, awesome. So, guys, that was Division 3A, and we're going to jump into Division 3B now. So once again, we're going to start with the results from week 1. Do you want to take us through these, Liam? Or
Alright, so looking at our results, we have the Rat Way to Go won 2-0 over the Dirty Dinkers. the remasters of Div 1 have got things back on track after imploding over the pre-season with Yasmir there winning 2-0. Some impronounceable team,
Ba-
Baratokurabu.
Baretokurabu. Baretokurabu.
All right, so someone's made that just to annoy me, obviously. They got up 2-0 over the Peacock Blockers. Then there was a bye-week win for Monty's Tosspots. So the Flings got a win this week, so we can't give them any trouble about never winning any games. And they're one step closer to making Metal eat a shoe, we should add. And then you have the Urquhart Innuendos went down to the Scrape and Sand Skelly Snakes, so the Camry getting a win there. And Crusader lost. Shock horror. Not really, but he went down 2-1 to all just numbers. So
What was that about? Metal eating a shoe? Something to do with Monty winning or
he
something?
promised it's pinned. Where's it pinned? I know it's pinned somewhere. Yeah, it's pinned in the beer hole. Metal's promise is that if the best performing, because there's a best performing stunty team position in the playoffs this season, and if it wins a div, what happens? Someone was asking, and Metal said he'll eat a shoe. So we're all looking forward to that.
All right.
Except
okay.
maybe the people in this division.
Yeah.
So,
I'm sure, the 3B guys are just going to lay down and let Monty win it to, see Metal eat a shoe.
Yeah.
Although,
I mean,
I guess it depends
really
on
worth it.
Yeah, how much do you guys really want to see Metal eat a shoe? So.
So yes, moving on to looking at teams first. I'm guessing. Who was I picking? I was picking the Dark Elf team, the Urquhart Innuendos. So looking at them, first off, we see an assassin. So interesting pick there straight off the bat. We'll talk more about that in a minute. We've got a Blodge Blitzer, a Block minus AV Blitzer. We've got a Runner, who is Pass Dodge. Sorry, not Pass, Dump Off. They look the same. Then we've got a Mighty Blow Blitzer, always handy to get one of them early. And a Block Lineman and a Block Blitzer, trying to hide and pretend to be a lineman, which annoys me a little. But what do you think about the assassin here, Tommo?
Usually I'm really not a fan of assassins. Having said that, with the way that Division 3s are kind of rolling at the minute, with a lot of people being interested in a lot of the new teams, and a lot of the new teams having a tendency towards, leaning towards like low armor values, maybe this is the little niche that the assassins are actually going to be good in. Apart from that, though, like if I was playing in like a regular division, I would just say, like assassin's just inferior in every way to alignment. I don't think stab's usually worth it. But again, because of the way that the division's kind of rolling, maybe you'll get some value out of it. How about you?
Well, I mean, there's Amazons in this division. There's a reason to have stab, but other than that, yeah, you are right in the fact that there is quite a decent amount of AV7 here, but stab still is a bit scary for me because as soon as you run up and try and stab someone and you fail, you instantly are in a bit of trouble because they're going to just hit you back. So, yeah, that worries me a bit.
Yeah, totally. The thing for me in this team is just the amount of armor 7 it's going to have when it's actually being developed. Like, the Assassin's AV7 at the minute. The Runner's obviously AV7. He's had a Blitzer that's been busted to AV7, which we'll have to see if he chooses to keep or not. He's got no money, so it looks like he's keeping it for now. And then, most Dark Elf teams, they want the 2 witches in there. So that's, that'd be 5 AV7 players on this Dark Elf team. And normally you want to limit the amount of AV7 players you've got and really try and protect them. Like, most people run 2 AV7 players. Sanjun on the Shadow Hill Cowboys runs 3. Like, running 5 just seems a bit it's taking a strength of the Dark Elf team, which is having lots of armor 8, and kind of giving it up a little bit, which I think if it works, great, but if it doesn't, it could end up going spectacularly wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure this has been discussed to death as well. It just, of course, it isn't really the best skill. If you could roll multi-block on it, it's not that much better, but it is a lot more entertaining. That is for sure. And I think that would make it a keep. But otherwise, the assassin just screams to me, I'll be good early on and not very good because I have a mighty blow blitzer who's better in every way, really.
Yeah.
And also, what do you think about the current team's roster management? So we've got an AV7 blitzer, which screams to me firing.
Yeah. I think if you had the money to replace it, then yeah, do it. But because we're in the first couple of weeks, just
And
having
the other,
pieces with enough block, can probably kind of be worth it. Are you still there? Or are you cutting out?
yeah, sorry, I'm cutting out completely here for a second. Just give me a sec.
Okay.
All right, it should be good now.
So are you going to make another point on that, or?
Oh, not really. I think that was about it. Do you have anything more to say?
Nope. That's us then for,
Right.
the Urquhart innuendos.
Yeah.
Next was my pick in 3B. We're going to have a quick look at the Right Way to Go, coached by, is it Jamis or Yamis? Jamis Magamis? I have no idea. If that's a reference or something, I really don't get it, but I never get references. Yeah, I believe, was it week 1? Did he? Yeah, he beat the Dirty Dinkers 2-0, I believe. At least I think that was. Yeah, that would have been week 1. Looking at the team, he has a Mighty Blow Storm Vermin. The thrower has missed next game, or whatever that is. A tackle lineman, and of course his 4 gutter runners. I really like how he's picked his skills. As you guys have watched this, have heard me talk about gutter runners again and again and again, and how you have to have an idea in mind about which gutter runner is going to do what role. If you look at these guys, you can clearly see which one's going to be doing what. He has a bludge gutter runner, a Raj gutter runner, a guard gutter runner, and a bludge step gutter runner. So that's kind of telling us that the bludge step guy is maybe going to be the ball carrier. He has the normal bludge guy who can maybe be like a shadower or a marker. He has the guard guy, which is going to get the assists for the Roger to actually come in and try and sack the ball. At least that's one kind of example of a way he could be using these gutter runners. But because he's took these skills the way he has, he has the versatility and the options to actually come up with strategies and things to do like that. If you just had blodge on all of them, all of a sudden you don't really have as many options as what you do as if you skill them like this. So I think this team, because of the gutter runners being skilled the way they are, is going to be a very exciting team to watch. It's actually got 5 fan factor already, which is something that's just jumped out at me this second. So he must be winning most, if not all, of his games. Yeah, 4 wins and a draw out of 5. So
they've had a really good start. They are 2-0 in the div so far. And yeah, it's pretty impressive seeing, of course, Skaven are very good early. And they've chosen, in my opinion, the best Skaven build early on.
Yeah.
Which is no Rat Ogre, 4 Gutters, 2 Vermin, 3 Reroll, and an Apo. So it's pretty safe, and he's just built out some linemen as well, so give him a bit of bench. I'd like to see him get even more of a bench. I always think people want more of a bench on Skaven, simply because really, there's only 2 players that ever need MVPs, which is too low for you to say, oh, I'm going to keep my player count down to try and get MVPs on good players, because those 2 players are the Storm Vermin. And really, you just want, once they're over the hill of Mighty Blow, or Tackle, they're really going to start getting some SPP. So I think that's not an issue for them to move up to 13 players and start being able to foul and throw line rats around as much as they want. And yeah, I think interesting to pick guard on doubles. Guard I do like, but it's not the best without block for sure. But then again, so is other skills such as maybe 2 heads, which could have been an alternate, or very long legs if you want to build him into a leaper later in his life. So I think that's a pretty fair pick there, though.
Yeah, I really like it. Especially if you put it in the context of the skills that have already been taken. Like, if you're going to be blitzing with someone, like I said before, you could think about Horns, but he's already got the Roger for blitzing if he's trying to sack the ball, or the Storm Vermins if he's just generally hitting things. Leap, yeah, sure, but again, very long legs, but doesn't have leap yet, and again, it's the Roger that's really going to be trying to dive after the ball. So I think, keeping everything in mind, I think guard is definitely the correct choice there. Okay, so.
Alright, so should we move on?
Yep.
We're doing 2 teams in this div. I'm not sure if we're going to do another unless it jumped out to you in the recent moments, Tommo.
No, we can just keep moving. Just quickly looking at the next week's
sorry,
fixtures.
I'm cutting out a bit again. It should be fine now, though.
Yeah, just looking at next week's fixtures in Season 7, Division 3B, we had the Dirty Dinkers playing against the Underworldly Underworlders. The Peacock Blockers are against the Rat Way to Go. Monty's Toss Spots are against Remasters of Div 1. Scrape and Sand Skelly Snakes are against Barreto Kurabu. Muten Roshi's Bear School have the bye. And All Just Numbers are playing against the Urkwood Innuendos. So good luck to the guys that haven't played their games in week 2 yet. And on to 3C now, which is the kind of like the fresh roll teams of the Big O Division 3.
Yeah, the ones who didn't really get in any spins or changed around after spins.
Yep, so looking at the results of week 1, the Karakazul Fistsmiths beat the 8th MS team 3-0. Waitaha? I don't know. They took up a 2-1 win over the Sassy Soviets. And the Art of War went down 1-0 to the Cold Coast Creeps. Hamu Fighters lost 0-2 to Skellycoons. The Mohawk Masqueraders we had got one. Sorry, spacing out there. The Mohawk Masqueraders took a 1-1 draw with the One True Path, and the Phobias Reborn beat the Temple Stowed Serpents a whopping 4-1. Okay, so on to looking at the teams in 3C. We do have 3 teams here, so we'll have Liam's first, then mine, and then we have some news about one particular team. So Liam, that's you first.
Yeah, I'm looking at Reese's team, the 8th MS team. So they're a vampire team. They're looking pretty good early on. The main reason that appealed to me about this team is they're one of the more developed teams in the division so far, and they also have a AG5 vampire, which I think is just too cool. There's multiple reasons. First off, he hypnogazes on a 2+ if he's not in tackle zones, which is awesome because hypnogaze is reasonably reliable usually, and that turns him into super reliable. So What it means is that he also could put leap on the player, which not usually needed on vamps because, of course, you've already got hypnogaze. But it is an option for him, and leaping on a 2+ anyway is cool because you could always leap and hypnogaze, so that's very handy as well. And even on the other vamps, you've got a blodge vamp, which is pretty cool, and a block vamp. He's also got a dirty player thrall, a kick thrall. Reese was lecturing me in the last recap yesterday about the importance of kick. I said to him, I prefer another type of kick, which is dirty player. That's my favorite type of kick. But he's also got a guard thrall. And the most worrying thing about this team to me is the fact it only has 11 players. What do you think about that, Tomo?
It only has 11 players for now, and when one of the thralls come back, he'll be back up to 12. Um, yeah, I just think it's a super good team. I played against Reese, and the greenhorn. It was always going to happen, really. And I think it was a 2-2 draw. I think we ended that game, which is it was quite a close one. I think he actually got his IG5 off the back of that, if I remember right. But no, I don't really have anything to add, like any strategic thought or anything. I like the things the same as you do. I guess all I can say is that the Goof Custom is actually my favorite mobile suit next to the Camphor. So I'm really glad that that's the guy that actually got the IG up and is becoming the star. Oh, IG5 was the last match, apparently. I remember you did get something good after our game. Was it Blodge? I don't know.
I mean, Blodge, this level of development on the vampires already is pretty impressive, really. Because, of course, they don't develop too quickly. And when you've got 3 or 2 block players who are strength 4 and 1 who can hypnogaze very reliably, it's just nasty.
Yep. Full rerolls as well. This is a rule with like vampires, isn't it? Like you don't have as many vampires as you have rerolls or something like that. So it's I'm not gonna say reliable, but it's kind of standard to see 3 vampires, 4 rerolls. I'd be interested to see if he chooses to get another vampire at some point, and if he could put it up to like 5 rerolls or not. But
Well, yeah, if Reese is in chat, he might tell us. But like I mean, that guard on the thrall could have certainly been leader for another cheap reroll, which means you get another vamp. But I think you could run 4 vamps, 4 rerolls, but only once you've got like a good amount of block. And that would still be pretty risky. I haven't played much vampires, so I'm not the most educated in vamps and rerolls, but
yeah, that makes sense. He says he's not going to buy
I
another
feel
vampire
like,
until he has pro.
yeah, I feel like you totally want 4 vamps at least. Like 5 vamps is starting to get a lot. It's very cool to have that many, but that's a lot of vamps.
Alright, okay. So that's
Moving
the
on.
8th MS team. And moving on, I believe that my team, yeah, is the Phobias Reborn, coached by Warecaster. The reason that I've chose to look at this team is simply because of the guards on the ghouls. And he's had some impressive results looking at the history. Again, the 4-1 win that we mentioned over the Templestone Pilots in week 1, you've got to look at a team when they managed to score 4 touchdowns. It's like an undead team. It's like, what? But looking at it, he has a lot of really high mobile ghouls that with guard, just providing him like a lot of hitting power. Normally, undead teams they want to protect their ghouls and they take skills and things like blodge on them because they're armor 7. They don't have regen. And of course, playing an undead team, you don't have an apothecary or anything to try and save them. So it can be quite scary, to get a ghoul hit. But having so much guard on the ghouls, he's going to be putting them in dangerous positions sometimes, and they're going to be getting hit. So I think that as long as these guys last, this is going to be a very exciting team to watch. But it wouldn't surprise me if some of those, at least one of those ghouls just exploded at some point.
Yeah, we'll see. I do like this team a lot right now, where it is at. They can afford. Can they afford another ghoul? Yeah, they can. Ghouls are 70k. So they can afford another ghoul. Whether they want it or not yet is an interesting decision because I think what could definitely be a tactic is trying to hold at this sort of team as long as you can, simply because it means you've got a lot of chance of getting MVPs going on whites and mummies, which is really important if you can try and get them early. Um, there's not too much development on the mummies. I mean, they do have mighty blows, so they do develop on their own, but that's a question for him. Does he want a ghoul or does he want two more, say, zombies to go and foul with, which is also a very good tactic, fouling for undead. Uh, right now, it's probably one of the bashiest teams in the division, actually, since there's uh, lots of people re-rolling into the newer teams who are often lower armor. So they're in a good position, I think.
Yeah, would you go with zombies or skeletons if you're recruiting more players?
Probably zombies. Skeletons look way cooler, let's be honest, but
Oh,
no, zombies are the better choice.
really? A lot of people I think I've been talking to recently, they get three zombies to the line, and then after that, if they're getting anything extra, they take skeletons just for the bit of movement. But
See, I think it's fair enough. Definitely getting three zombies for the line, I think is definitely the right idea. Because they are much more resilient. And I do like always having one skeleton to be the fouler, so to speak. I really wouldn't hate either decision. I don't think. I think usually the zombies are just the old reliable.
all right, cool. Okay, so that's the Phobias Reborn by Warecaster. Again, picking up a 4-1 win in week one. That's a super solid start. And the last team we're going to be looking at in Division 3C is actually two teams. We'll have a quick look at Down Under Wookie, the Temple Stored Serpents here. We're looking at the old one, shall we say. We're calling it the old one because these guys have actually been given a reroll under the Angel of Lilith rule. So what's happened here,
Yeah.
guys, is that in his first few games, he's had two Saurus straight up dead, and another one that's been niggled. So the admins are being gracious enough to allow him to have a restart for the team. So this is the old one here. And if we go on to the last page now, we can see again, there's a new one, the Temple Stored Serpents, which is this team here. So again, he's chosen not to take a Croxagore. He has 6 healthy Saurus here. One Skink that looks like it's just missed next game there, which isn't the end of the world. But yeah, already his team's looking a lot more healthy. He's still got a distinct lack of skills. And re-rolling at this time, he's could be a little bit of a disadvantage. But most of the teams in this division were mostly fresh until like week one. So he's not going to be, fighting uphill too much. The only big things to point out is that, again, there's no Croxagore. Liam, what do you think? Croxagore or no Croxagore?
Yeah, I do love the Croxagore. He's probably one of my favorite players, and most people tend to agree that he's the best big guy in the game. While I can't argue too much with adding an extra reroll for the extra reliability, but I really think since he is a bit of TV down anyway, if he picks up the Crocs and then can induce an extra reroll, sure the reroll costs more to induce, but it's much more effective than inducing a loner um, Croxagore. So, or not a loner, but rather a Croxagore that doesn't play for your team, so you'll lose him after that game. So I think I would definitely like to have seen the Crocs. What also just going back to that rule is allowed for any. So if your team has got way too beaten up, you can just re-roll into a fresh team of the exact same type, but only once with that team. So that's a rule. It's named after a team probably about 5 seasons ago now that had a complete dicing against it, and it was called the Angels of Lilith, and that's what the rule's called. So that is why that's there. Yeah, there's not much else to say about this team other than why have they put the Skinks on top like that? Why you do this to us?
It's always Lizardman coaches as well, you guys. You just have all these weird and wonderful like team configurations on this screen just to make it harder for us to look at.
I don't understand it. It frustrates me more than it should. But yes, a well-organized team makes us admins feel much better, guys. Not admins, us sports reporters.
Alright, so that was Division 3C. Do you want to take us through the fixtures for next week? Or week 2?
Alright, I can do that. Looking at week 2, lots of the games have already been played, but we'll go over them next week. We actually have James Typhoon. I believe he's playing a bit later today, if I remember correctly. I know he posted that somewhere. So he is playing, that's One True Path versus Karak Azul Fistsmiths. That sounds like a dwarf team. Yes, it is. So, yeah, James has been talking himself up as such a scary team, but in reality, he has no mighty blow and he has 1 block. So, come on, James, got to step up your game a little there. We have Skellicons and Templestowed Serpent have played. We've got the Cold Coast Creeps and the Phobias Reborn, the Sassy Soviets and the Mohawk Masqueraders, the 8th MS team, and Hamu for something.
Fighters. It's katakana, English Japanese mix. Yeah.
All right, there you go. So this is why we have Tommo on the recap team, obviously. And then we've got another weird team, Waitaha versus the Art of War. So, yeah, as you can see, lots of these games have already been played. The One True Path is probably playing tonight, so tune into that. I'm sure Crusader will probably stream, or Tommo. One of you will be around, maybe. So, yeah.
Okay, yeah, awesome, guys. Everyone's been getting their games in quite quickly, which has been good. Over the course of, the first couple of weeks. I hope that enthusiasm keeps going. We have a lot more awesome games. Waitaha is a Maori word, apparently. Are we saying it correctly, Reese?
It sounded like that. It sounded like a Maori word, but I'd like to pronounce them properly. If I ever pronounce them wrong, please tell me, or Tommo, and we'll try and fix it. Unless you've got silly elf names, and then I'll just not read them. Or there's swear words.
Yeah, guys, and before we finish up for today, just a quick look at the leaderboard here. Sam Slade's starting strong again. He's always been a pretty good coach and good results when he's been able to get his games in. And yeah, but again, apart from that, there's nothing really that can jump out of us at this point. So guys, just want to say everyone, thanks very much for watching. I hope you're having a great time in the Big O and long may it continue. Thanks very much to Liam for joining me again today. Have you got anything you want to plug or anything you want to shout out before we finish up?
Not really, just I hope you guys keep going. It's been a good start to Big O season. What season are we up to now?
7.
Something, yeah. ReBBL season 7. So yeah, and also I'm just seeing that James Typhoon is actually about to start. So there you go.
Okay, awesome. So once again, thanks to everyone for watching. This has been your Big O recap team, and we'll see you guys again probably next weekend, next Monday, whenever. Yeah, keep an eye out. We'll post. Keep an eye on Discord.
Sometime.
Take care, guys.
Might try and do it on Saturdays.
Saturdays would work for me. But yeah, take care, guys, and have a lot of fun in the Blood Bowl Park. Catch you guys around. Bye bye. Okay, awesome.
Well, yeah, Tommo, if Saturdays are going